Hello everyone and welcome back to another card making video. I'm happy to share that I'm guest designer for Heffy Doodle in the month October. I will be sharing 2 cards this month on the Heffy Doodle blog and on my YouTube channel. I just needed to use the sweet gulls for the first card. Without further ado, let me show you how I've made it. Spreek je Nederlands? Er is ondertiteling beschikbaar. First of all, I'm showing you which images I used to create this scene. If you want to see all the supplies I used, check out the blog post I linked in the description to learn more about that. I stamped them all out with Memento Tuxedo Black and with the help of my Misty so I can stamp multiple times if needed. Now it's time for some coloring. I used my Copic markers for this and you can see the color number on the left of my paper so you know which color number I use. If you want to skip watching me color, you can skip to the time that pop-ups on the screen now. You can also find the clickable time link in the description. After I'm done coloring, I like to go over the inner lines with a black fine liner to bring back some details. This is totally optional, but for me it makes a difference. To finish up the images, I'm adding highlights with a white gel pen. I cut the images off screen. Matching dies are available for these sets. I cut a staged rectangle with the largest die from the outside-in staged rectangle stackables from lawnfawn. This way I can have a little border around my scene. I cut it out of watercolor paper. I used a cloudy stencil from lawnfawn to blend on a cloudy sky. I used Distress Oxide in the color Tumbled Glass for this. I like using a blending brush to have a little more control and so that I don't blend on too much ink at once. I put the ink on my stencil first before I blend it out on the paper. I overlap the clouds for a more dramatic effect. It looks very cool in the end. When I'm done, I blend some ink at the top and the bottom to finish off the clouds. To close off the scene visually, I like to go around the edges with a blending brush and Mermaid Lagoon. I cut another staged rectangle of the same size out of a scrap piece of watercolor paper. I use one of the ocean wave border dies from lawnfawn to cut the ocean. I'm blending a gradient with Mermaid Lagoon and Tumbled Glass, with Mermaid Lagoon on the bottom. By the way, if you like my videos, you can support my channel by subscribing. It's totally free to do so. If you already are a subscriber, thank you! After that is done, I smoosh a little chipped sapphire on my glass work surface, spray a little water and splatter it onto my ocean. I take some white acrylic paint, thin it down a little with water and splatter this on my ocean too. I cut another staged rectangle out of a scrap piece of watercolor paper. I put the ocean and the lighthouse on my background to check how I want the land to be cut. I use one of the simple staged hillside borders from lawnfawn for that. After die cutting, I check if I'm happy with the result and then move on to the ink blending. I use Distress Oxide again and this time I use Vintage Photo at the bottom first. I only put on a little, because I only wanted to darken my other color, which is Antique Linen. I smoosh the Vintage Photo pad on my glass work surface, mix it with some water and go ahead and splatter some on my just blended land. I cut a stripe pattern paper with the largest die out of the large staged rectangle stackables from lawnfawn and glue this on a craft paper card base. Now I can glue the land onto the background. Next I glue on the ocean. I make sure that I keep the area that crosses the edge of the land without glue so that I won't get the edge pressed into the paper. I now can adhere the whole thing onto my card with tin foam tape so it creates a little depth. It would be a good idea to stamp on your sentiment first, but I forgot. I will show you how I did it later on, but I would recommend doing it before you adhere the panel to your card. Now it's time to assemble the scene. I glue the lighthouse in place. I use the same technique as with the ocean, so I put glue on the bottom and at the top to prevent getting a crease. I lay the flying gull in its place, but I don't adhere it yet. Then I glue down the other girl. I only put glue at the bottom, so that he will pop off at the background for a little and give some depth. I could have done the same with the lighthouse, but I felt the girl should receive a little more attention. In meantime, I realized I should have stamped my sentiment already, so I do that now. Because the card is quite thick already, I take the foam pad out of my MISTI. If I miss some thickness to stamp properly, I can always add some paper under my card. I use Distress Oxide Chipped Sapphire to stamp on the sentiment. I stamp it multiple times to get a good crisp impression. Now I can adhere the flying girl to the scene with some tin foam tape to give them some depth. I use a white paint marker to add some dots to the sentiment. The idea came up in my head because I saw a tiny spot that didn't stamp well, and I figured that adding white spots will make it look like sparkles on the surface of the ocean. I glue the gift to the seal's head and glue him to the scene by putting glue only on its bottom part. I add a few white Nouveau drops around the sentiment for some extra detail on the sparkling effect. I let the drops dry for a while, and with that my card is finished. Although I love elaborate scenes, I also think it's fun to make a cute scene with lesser images. By using thick paper, textures and depth, it can still be a wonderful scene like this one turned out to be. I hope I inspired you with my video and that you feel inspired to get crafty as well. If so, please consider leaving a thumbs up, subscribing to my channel and ringing the bell to receive a notification when a new video is up. Thanks for watching, see you next time, bye!